confirmed the work that I had already done.
Hi, it's Chris. We want to talk about this because this is incredibly important stuff. First and foremost, and honestly, the whole point of this video is that self-advocacy and self-research is never a bad thing. You shouldn't be shamed for wanting to understand yourself more, try to learn about conditions that you might have, try to do some research and better educate yourself, and obviously to advocate for yourself and make sure that you are taking yourself seriously and trying to find people that will also take you seriously. That's not a bad thing. I've always told people this, and I'll scream it from the hilltops, that every diagnosis that we've had, minus one or two of them, we knew that we had before we had the diagnosis. PTSD, had it before getting diagnosed. Depression and anxiety, had it before getting diagnosed. DID, had it before getting professionally diagnosed. Physical issues as well. We've had them before we got diagnosed. An example of that is the fact that we have POTS, right? We should have been diagnosed back in 2019, but given horrible medical treatment from a specific doctor, we had a really delayed time frame with diagnosis. And then we were finally diagnosed, and the doctor who diagnosed us was like, why weren't you diagnosed back then? And it's like, well, we advocated for ourselves, we got the testing done, it proved that we had it, and then we weren't taken seriously still. So we had POTS before we had POTS. Just this morning, we were finally diagnosed with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. We've suspected it for years now, and it could have honestly saved us so much time and heartache with all the doctor's appointments, physical therapy appointments, procedures, everything that we've tried to do to help our chronic pain, chronic fatigue, and POTS symptoms, because they're kind of comorbid. And we finally got the diagnosis this morning because we took the evidence to our doctor and said, hey, I think I have this because X, Y, and Z. And so she looked at it, pulled it up herself, and went, do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? And we went through the checklist, and she's like, yeah, you have it. I wonder why you weren't diagnosed sooner. So we had EDS before we had EDS. I just don't understand the shame and the judgment that people like to give out to others for wanting to advocate for themselves. It's never a bad thing. I know that the whole idea of Dr. Google is a thing, and some people might be mistaken in what they think they might have, but at least coming to your doctors and asking about it helps start the process of finding the proper diagnosis, whether it's what you thought it was or if it's something completely different. Fun fact about the PTSD diagnosis, I just thought it was depression. And then they're like, oh, well, it's actually PTSD. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. So it's like things happen. Sometimes you're wrong, and that's okay. But wanting to do the research and presenting it to someone should never be a bad thing.